some of the things I know about Yakima. Before I moved there, my experience actually started in Yakima. So the reason I'm a UFO reporter doing all this stuff is about 2020 left care with Wounded Warrior and kind of did nothing because pandemic. Spent a lot of time in Yakima Valley looking up. Now I'm not too far from Toppenish. What I didn't know was first, I don't want to say that because that'll ruin the story. That's not how movies are written. So let me rewind a little bit. Anyway, I start recording. No, I start seeing lights in the sky. These lights actually, the thing that threw me off was like when I'd see it, it wasn't a pulse. I'd see it scan across one eye and then it'd go to another. So it'd be one eye first, then the other. So it wasn't hitting both eyes. So I'm trying to figure out what this is. So I really started getting into videos, trying, videography and stuff, trying to figure out what it was. And that's when I started recording a lot and seeing a lot of things that we would consider orbs, balls of light. And I spent a lot of time recording them before I knew what I was looking at. And what's crazy is my experience and the synchronicities led me to, uh, I met Michael, who actually has a or he did a documentary. And in the documentary, there's another individual who's talking about the Yakima lights, Dr. Greg Long. And I was here, we were actually side by side, no shit, on accident, in Michael's documentary without anybody knowing he was talking about Yakima. I was showing the videos and telling about my experience in Yakima. And now, the more I dug into that, you can look at the Earth Light Theory. There's a book out there that talks about that as well. But Hynek, there's a study that Kufos did. I didn't want to say, I'll have to look up the guy who ended up doing it. It's the Toppenish UFO study. And what Toppenish is actually an Indian reservation. And it's famous. I mean, famous for these lights, these balls of lights. Through this study, they have a lot of the witnesses that they actually quote aren't necessarily people like you and me. Most of the witnesses they talk to, they're fire watchers, because that's the thing here. Where you got to sit and and they'd see these balls of light, these orbs, and it's just a continuous thing. So this recording and the Hynek study, I'll post in here in a second once Astral gets in here. And fast forward, I'm still not quite sure. Like, okay, this is what I'm seeing here. Okay, great. Well, Ray's in here. I go hard on this crash retrieval stuff because I'm super into it. Hanford, which is a nuclear site here, they have a team. Matter of fact, my legacy source, I don't know if I said any of that. My legacy source vetted that, by the way, Ray. He told me, yeah, when I asked him that from your husband, that what your husband put straight up. So I was like, okay, cool. So they ended up having that. I know in 1979 in Elk River, Washington, there was actually a UFO crash. So the history here goes back between Washington and Oregon. Hell, we all know the very first event happened here in Yakima Valley, Arnold. So I said here in Yakima Valley. I'm not in Yakima Valley now. I'm in Illinois. There's nothing to but corn. Corn, sorry guys. But where I was at, where my experience started, that's kind of where it was at. And it took me a minute to see how much, but there's so much documentation and I guess videos and just different accounts that it's actually one of the top in the nation almost every year. And look, I'll say this. It's my opinion, because if you believe we have treaties, and if you kind of read up on what some of those treaties entail and blah blah, some of that is they're given land and under certain places. So that's where I stand on it. What's up, everybody? Do me a favor, retweet the space. I'm doing this by myself since Astral stood me up, the bastard. So give me a second here. I want to post some of the stuff I'm talking about so you guys can see it. Somebody at Astral too, when you retweet it, say, "What are you at, jerk?" And by the way, it's David Akers. He's the one that ended up doing the study over here, over there in Yakima Valley. So give me a few minutes. You all can feel free to come up and yap if you want to as well. Feel free. What's up, Daniel? Oh, nice of you to join us, Astral. I only floundered for 40 minutes, brah. The best part is I just relayed my fear of doing this alone to Astral, and he assured me he'd be here. I guess he's
Oh, I
trying to
never
break
said
that
on
shit.
time. I just said I'd show up.
Yeah, it's like, man, I do so much better when I have someone to converse with as opposed to what I was doing, whatever the fuck
I
that
was
was.
just
What's up,
watching
Astral?
the Jesse Michaels and the Kurt from Toe interview. It was really good. I was like midway through it.
1 second. Um, it's really good, huh? What kind of breaking stuff did they come out with?
I mean, just to get some insight from like how he connected with Grush, what Grush's goals were, in some of the back kind of behind the scenes of what he was doing in the government and his frustrations. And I was just watching the part two on like the Peter Thiel when Kurt was asking him about Peter Thiel and like all the controversy. Like I don't even know anything really about it, and I've heard a lot of people posting about it. But he was basically saying that the dude's got like a shit ton of family money, and he's just really interested in these topics. But whatever his political affiliations are, are what they are. So I know some people have really dug into that, but I just don't really care, I guess.
Hey, take the room for 1 second. I'm trying to post something in here. Make everybody retweet it. Do something funny.
Well, I'm trying to get a post out tonight with some of the people who are involved in UFO Twitter Week, and just wanted to get some confirmation from a few more before we made it kind of
I'm
official.
doing which one? Wait, I'm doing a couple, like a joint, and I got another one. And I want prime time.
Yeah, that's the thing is like there's not a lot of people who have actually given a time. They'll just say they'll participate. So that's what it's really flexible in that sense. Is like a lot of the times the schedule doesn't really get formed until a week before when people are able to do it. So
I can schedule it right now, man. Right now.
well, give
Actually,
me
no,
a
give me.
day because like I'm waiting on like three people like like people like Bryce Zabel and shit like that. Like so I don't want to schedule a bunch of people and then a couple of big names come in and I'm like, well, you're kicked, you're booted, you're bumped.
Give me. Okay, I'll tell you what. I'll do the opening one if you got an opening one, whatever that is, the salvo, and I'll
I'll
try to
DM
do.
you. We can go over it, dude.
All right,
Yeah.
because I'm trying to do Jack's uh
So
his
you doing
lectures.
Sephardi?
Yeah, I'm gonna do
No
Jack Party's
way.
lectures.
That's a good
Yeah,
one.
dude. It's taken me forever, dude. I've got a couple of investigations going on, but his shit's yeah. I'm gonna try to do his lectures and all the different shit.
I
So,
asked him to do a space. He told me to read his book. He sent me his
ah,
book link. I'm like, bro, come on.
dude, I'm not even gonna try to get him into space, man. Like, I'm trying to understand his stuff, and I'll reach out and he'll help. And I'm like, God, I'm an idiot. I don't want to talk to this guy because then he may not even help me.
He's got to dumb it down, man. He's got to. Like, you can't just approach, be like, you're a moron, you're an idiot, you don't understand, and
You
then throw
can
like
if you're a time traveler.
and then just throw the whole physics book at them, like over their head with like some consciousness theory that you've been developing for 40 years. Like, what do you mean you don't understand it? Like, what?
Yeah, he's legit though, man. I think he's cool as hell.
Well, you said he's been in a lot of documents, and I
Oh,
think
a lot of
he's got a
documents.
lot of involvement
Check
of
this out,
whatever he's
guys.
been doing.
So Jack, Stargate program, right? On top of that, I post a lot of information about the Star Kids, Puharic, all that information. Where do you think Jack was? Yeah, so I don't know if most of you guys know the story, but if you want to know the story, you're going to have to go to that. But I know some people in here know that he got a call. So basically, Jack, when he was younger, he received a phone call, and what he thought he remembers just one phone call, and it was sounded like I think it was an AI robot, and it was saying from the future, right? But his mom remembers multiple for hours on end, and one of the things he was told in 20 years, he would meet like-minded individuals and start to change the world. And that's where you go to how the hippies changed physics. But the second book is kind of it's just out too, man. You guys gotta check it out. It's like we're gonna mess the name up. I posted it a couple times. It's basically a Jack Sparta story. It's where he's at now, but it's UAPs, um, paranormal, time travel. I mean, everything I fucking love. Yeah. So it's like it's a damn good book. But I'll say that he was one of those highly intuitive, intelligent individual. I can't keep up. I try, man.
I mean, the topics that he's talking about is good too. I mean, like time travel, UFOs, and even he gets into like some parapsychology stuff.
Yeah, I'm telling you. I'm going to try to break his lectures down. So as much as I can.
Yo, you need to
Because
get Kurt, bro, Kurt from Toe and Jack Safardi. Have they ever done that? Would be like people's brains might explode.
see, here's the thing. I don't know because Jack likes put his information out because Jack's information is accurate to him, and sometimes I think Jack don't like bullshit artists. Just saying.
Well,
You know what I mean?
Kurt would be coming probably a lot from more of like the hardcore physics
That's my
standpoint.
point. I'm telling you this coming from that aspect with
But
Jack.
that's
Jack
what
would
needs to
correct it.
happen
No,
though for
Jack would
anybody.
correct him a million times.
But for anybody to take him serious, though, he would have to explain some of that to physics.
I understand that, but
Same
imagine
with the
knowing
UFO
your
thing.
physics is the physics, and this guy over here is trying to say, "Well, oh, Jack will correct that. Believe me, he's not. I mean, that's what he does here. Like he'll pop into a thread, say, "Nope, wrong here." Has no problem with it. He's not a bad guy. He's a good guy, actually, smart as fuck, and that's what you get. He's not gonna. He's gonna matter of fact everything. Shaw, listen to Jack. Put your Jack robes on. I haven't even talked to Jack, so I actually I reached out to him. No, I didn't. For an interview a while back, I think he said send him an email, and I still haven't done that. So, but I do interact with him, like to ask him questions about his stuff, just trying to get a point on it. So, if you guys don't know or haven't, post some stuff in this thread about Jack. I'd do it, but Astral won't even pick up the room when I go to post stuff. Just lets dead air take over for
I'll,
1 second,
I'll
man.
do it
I got to
again.
grab something.
I saw Daniel popped up. What's up, dude?
Hey guys, hope you can hear me okay. I'm on the road right now, but yeah, I mean, it looks like this next UFO week is shaping up to be a pretty cool event. Pretty promising lineup so far.
Yeah, I'm excited, dude. This is like the fourth time doing it, and just to have new people come up and hosts participate, and not only that, but have people have good guests and bring on some good conversations and discussions. I mean, it's always I think a good week, man.
Yeah, good variety too. I think a lot of people, there's a lot of familiar faces here, and a lot of people continue to come back, which is great. But then a lot of new people come who aren't as familiar with spaces itself, just the research, the concepts that are brought up, and a lot of the people that are brought in. Things aren't really on spaces or even so the continuing way to cross reference a lot of the stuff that's out there that maybe people who mainly use this platform aren't familiar with. It gets information to
Yeah, dude. We usually have like one or two people. The first time it was like Ross Coulthart, and then Joseph Burks was another one where they hadn't even done spaces before, but they've heard about it, and so we had to just like kind of coach them through or set it up how they would get on. But I think it's good, and a lot of people are hearing about, and even on bigger interviews, shit. News Nation is like quoting and reporting on shit that happens on UFO Twitter. So, like, so if you see that as somebody who's in the field, you're like, oh well, kind of, I got to get on and see what's going on. And I think this is just an effect from that is a coordinated set of spaces to go along that's just more professional and keeps the discussion on, and there's none of that drama shit. So that's the stuff that Shane likes, though, is the drama stuff.
Hell no. Matter of fact, I just had to go squash some drama with my roommate coming up in here.
See, I told you he likes it.
My roommate coming up in here telling me dinner's at 5 o'clock. I said, listen here, Mom, get out of my room. She was getting irritated. She goes, you need to plan those around dinner. I was like, what the hell? I'm 44, Mom. I'm visiting. I'm gonna have to get the hell out of here. So let me ask you this, Astral. Where do you stand on the end of the world?
Apparently, for people that come in like this weekend, like I don't know, man. I'm just chilling. I'm trying not to think about it. It's a lot of people I think are feeling something, and there's a lot of research that goes into it's just like Bigelow stuff, these remote viewers and all of these people who are getting, this kind of information feel like there's some sort of event coming up. I don't know, man. Like there's nothing we can do about it. I feel like so unless we can like remote view the future and like mentally swat away the freaking meteor I don't know, like so I think a lot of people are speculating about things and even posting like fucking cryptic shit now, and it's like I don't know, man. I'm just gonna keep doing my thing.
You're gonna keep doing your thing till the pole shift. There you go. Meteor. Was there a meteor coming too? We're
You want me
all
to
doomed,
start like
man.
digging in my
Meteor, pole
shack and
shift,
like
floods.
shuttling food, getting the railroad system going or something? I don't know what to do.
So Astral, what time's your space tonight?
9, but I was thinking of moving it up an hour just because I'm not doing shit.
Just you can move it up whenever you want. We'll cancel this and move it over there. Okay?
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, we'll just can't. I'm cool with that.
But I got the envelope right here, so it's week number 57, and it's just same old remote viewing. But I actually used ChatGPT this week for a couple of things that I've been talking about of ways to work with the submissions and the judging. So I was using a couple of submissions and then going on ChatGPT and just comparing it with the target and letting because ChatGPT right now has this like visual thing where you can upload a picture and it like analyzes it. So I was going through and you can like give it the target and then give it the submission and then have it rate it. But I have what I'm about to do is like give it the target that you send in and then 4 random pictures and then see if it can actually like pick the one, be like based off of this, like pick the target of what you think it is. And so I think like that's what the best way will be. Because it also kind of takes, I mean, I don't know if you want to take the human element out of remote viewing judging and then just strictly have it based off of AI. I don't know. I mean, you can even do a study based off of that, of like, human judges versus AI judges, or even humans fucking remote viewers versus AI remote viewers. How crazy would that be? Find out that like AI is better at remote viewing than we are.
Probably seen some of the information that came out about how I'm going to go find the details on it. There was a study showing how AI was able to access like Wi-Fi routers and could determine in real time where people were inside of a physical building based upon the signals that they were getting throughout the physical structure. They could show where people were. They could estimate like within pinpoint accuracy. So it's hard to say. I have to go back and find out what that was, but it's probably improved a lot since then.
Yeah, and I think it would be that's what it would end up being is like it would be an analysis then of the data set that they would be aggregating. So it would be like, how many pictures are you feeding to the AI? Well, only 100,000. Well, it could probably analyze those 100,000 pictures and spit out the most common image that would be able to be interpreted as the best submission. So like AI would like shortcut the shit, instead of like being like super like groundbreaking, it's actually doing what it's supposed to do and like super analyzing it and using the data that it has access to then start doing predictive stuff. Whereas remote viewing, you feel like you're not basing it off of any sort of data that you have. You're getting the information through a sixth sense, extrasensory perception, that isn't innate to your physical body. So I think that's kind of like what in the next step would be like how you would analyze your skill of that anyway, like if you're good or not. So that would be being taken it to the next level of like seeing how you would be able to rate a good remote viewer from just an average one. Well, Shane's 1 for 1, so he's a good one so far.
That's why I quit. That's why I quit.
Retired on top. Yeah, he walked away from the game.
That's what I did, and I got $1 million jobs for it too. Quit with that one. Got all those jobs wrong, but screw it. Oh shit, Ray's trying to get up here. Way to pay attention, Astral. I've been eating.
I'm not a co-host.
Oh shit. I'm sorry. Way
Yeah,
to
that's
pay
on you,
attention,
buddy.
Shane. What the hell you doing? That surprises me. Usually, if it's just me hosting, there's nobody. That tickles my fancy. You all are here for me. Hey guys, do me a favor, retweet the space. This is kind of the Astrals RV pregame, whatever we want, and then whenever Astral's ready, we'll roll that into his space. That way, you can separate the two, and people can listen to them one at a time. Because spaces are rough if you want to go back, to that kind of stuff. And we'll still continue talking about this different stuff here. Just retweet, hashtag, put some information in the thread. Anything about the topic. It's important. People come across it. Maybe it helps them piece the puzzle together. And thanks, Astral, for showing up 45 minutes to help me host and not make me look like a fool the first 45 minutes. I really do appreciate you getting my back.
Bro, it was like 12 minutes. What's up, Ray?
It felt like infinity.
What's up, guys? I'm driving. I'm just between sessions, so I wanted to come up and ask Astral. I'm wondering. So when the Chat GPT or the AI is analyzing the remote viewing results, does AI like have a solid understanding of what remote viewing is? Like, are do they are they going off of CRV? Like, what does AI know about the process, I guess, is my question.
I think it's pretty familiar, but I gave it a few prompts before on what I was doing, and then it understood that it was kind of analyzing and comparing the two the submission with the target, but there wasn't like a scoring system or anything like that. So and you probably could build that out. But it did have an understanding of what I was trying to get it to do, like right off the bat. Once I uploaded the picture of the target, like behind the envelope, and explained that, like, this is what I was doing. These are what somebody had sent in. Can you just come up with a comparative analysis of what this submission? And it kind of just spit out a little bit of description, but like, I've gone a little bit further on it, but I think I can go, I feel like you can come up with a pretty comprehensive scoring system, even if you wanted to like test yourself, like rate this one through 10 or something, where each week you can probably gain a better, it can gain an understanding of how to judge you.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I try to avoid tech at all. Like, I'm just not great with technology and stuff, but it sounds like I don't know. I'm curious in kind of keeping track of like actual scores or some kind of scoring method for my RVs. My only thing is that I noticed in your post that the AI was kind of analyzing the image itself, and with
So
PR.
something kind of on a similar note that makes it pretty interesting. Here recently, there's some articles that came out about a college student who they won a contest that I guess the reason they won was because they were able to program an AI and the whole system of equipment to read these ancient scrolls, which are extremely delicate, without actually unrolling them or anything, really having to do much physically with them. He scanned them. So I guess that's one of the interesting things is that with the proper equipment or technology, this AI was able to read text from a Herculaneum scroll, like Hercules, right? It's a Roman city. And what's really cool is that they're probably like, they would fall apart if you handle them. So somehow they were able to kind of scan through and detect the lettering inside, and it starts to decipher it. So, we're on the precipice, I think, of kind of getting to the point of where something can probably analyze. I mean, I'm sure that this is possible now, but for commercially available technology, and available in the public domains, it's kind of an exciting time to see what's possible. Where technology, like you were saying, Astral, sometimes some of this stuff might be able to analyze it differently than the organic approach and come up with similar data sets.
Yeah, I guess my question was like with CRV. Right now I'm currently working on like getting the ideogram and A and B components down, and with the ideogram, It's just a reflexive hand movement, just based off of like how you feel with the coordinates or whatever the prompt is being prompted. And so like my submissions don't look much like the image. But my data that I'm writing down, like my descriptive data, has a lot of information about what the target would look like. So I guess like my question is like I guess like, or maybe it's more of a thought, is that AI would have to kind of understand to not look analyze the image so much if somebody's using an IAB formation, and then look more at the descriptive data that's being recorded.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think when you were talking about the one that I sent in, that's kind of just what happened, is that it took their photo and basically thought that they were drawing a tree, even though that if you looked at it, they were drawing a mountain and like trees on a mountain, and it wasn't like the bark of a tree, which it was in the target. And so it instead of like comparing the different like you were saying, the hits within the target of like the elements that you do get, it like analyzed the target and then it analyzed the photo, your submission, and then it almost like, what do you think this is, and then compare it, as opposed to like analyze the similarity data points between the two. But that's what's kind of is that's where you would like coach chat gpt to do it. So like, you would kind of be like, well, don't analyze the photos individually, like compare them with all of the elements that are written down from the submission, and then take that information and then compare it to the analysis of the data points within the characteristics within the target. So that would actually be really cool. And then, you could break it down to like, you can be like, do 20 data points, and then you could see a score out of 20 of what you get. Like we've recognized the most 20 prominent characteristics in the target, and you've hit 6 of those. And so then that's actually a pretty good way to gauge it. And so next time you can be like, well, next time I hit 9, and then I kept hitting 9, and then I'm improving now to where I can hit like 12, or you know what I'm saying? So it's like a way to like gauge how many characteristics of the target you're able to hit. So it's not like a hit or miss, it's like, how much did you get of it?
Yeah, that makes sense. And then I think in terms of like CRV, so there's different stages in training. So like stage 1 is just being able to zone
I guess
in.
the other thing would be in the event that AI
I don't know if Daniel can hear me.
Oh, Daniel, can you hear Ray? Shoot, I don't think you can hear Ray. You might have to jump back up. It's all good.
So I think so with remote view, with CRV, there's stages. So in stage 1, the goal is just to be able to hone in on, is this am I on land? Is there water, or is the target liquid, solid? So you're really just supposed to like describe and try to be able to identify, like, I'm on an island, I'm in the ocean, I'm in the middle of a desert, jungle, right? It's just like basic geographical features. And then stage 2 moves on to include like some more details, like a good example would be like a sewage plant or something like that. So I think like in training an AI for that, you'd want to feed them that information, like look out for X, Y, and Z descriptive data. This is a really interesting concept, though. Kind of training and working with AI in order to score and be able to analyze remote viewing submissions.
Don't give up on me yet. I'm almost done posting it, Astral. I had to find it, man. So look, guys, get your noodles ready. So I'm getting ready to post. A while back, I posted some information on the Human Genome Project that Jason and Miter Corp thing, and along with some quotes from John Ramirez about the symposium in 1997, where topic of discussion is us being hybrids, and some of those hybrids are tweaked a little more, a la Dan Sherman, Project Preserve Destiny, and I imagine Star Kids as well, things like that. But I discovered in another paper, a follow-up paper from Jason and Miter Corp. It's called Exploiting the Genome. So I'm going to put that up in there. Ash will take over real quick again.
Damn, I want to be a hybrid, bro. How do you figure that shit out?
Oh, dude. Look, you're mantis and reptile for sure.
But I'm cool with the mantis, but
Why does everybody fear reptiles? How do you know they bad?
I've never heard a good story about a reptilian story. Like, oh, they came down and like healed my ankle. Like, it's always some shit, dude.
I have a good reptile story, and I think everybody in here knows that it's not about reptilians. It's about snakes or some other kind of reptile. So I'm just kidding. I'm not going to waste your time. But yeah, that's what I've heard too. Is that mantis man or mantids and are more friendly or neutral, and reptilians they don't really get a good image.
Alien agendas, man. That's I think that's the one thing that also kind of turns people off when they first get into this topic, is because people are so just strong about their opinions and even their experiences of just relating the whole thing to a whole species and their agenda. It's kind of be like basing your whole thoughts on humanity off of one interaction with one human. You can't like cast that whole thing. But I think through the different experiences that people have had, if you take all of them and you kind of correlate them and put them together in some sort of analysis, you see, and that's kind of what the Consciousness and Contact Research Institute did with Ray Hernandez, and the one that Edgar Mitchell started with free research, is like gathering experiencer reports with non-human intelligence or entities or whatever, and then putting them all together and being like, okay, like this is what we're dealing with here on a uh larger scale. Is like there's a lot of beings and a lot of things. And I think the craziest part, and I saw a podcast too, I think it was the recent one on weaponized, where the guy was talking about like the data that OSAP kept, and he was like, the weirdest thing is like nothing correlated with it, to like nothing was similar. It was all different. And that's the same thing with these non-human intelligence reports, is like all of these stories were really like different. Like, there was the same type of being, but there weren't like hundreds of the same thing happening to all different types of people. It was all like very, very high strangeness stuff, but it was like individual psychic stuff, from physical to astral type of experiences, and all the different types of beings were able to do this type of stuff. So
Yeah, I think like as humans, we're geared towards categorizing things in order to try to make sense of it. But everybody's experience is subjective. So like I don't know, somebody might have the same experience as somebody else and interpret it as being positive. I mean I don't know, but I definitely get a little suspicious when people speak very matter of factly, like these things are all good or they're all bad. I think there's like definitely duality or something occurring. Like there's a spectrum, like with everything. Kind of most things exist on a spectrum, and I think NHIs most likely do too.
Is that your name of choice for him, NHI?
the Zeddies.
The others. I think the others, and it denotes that I'm now in a cult. So do me a favor, retweet, and I'll tell you about my cult. Go ahead, Daniel.
Yeah, definitely. Want to hear about the more on the cold for sure. But I can definitely hear Ray too, so that's good. Yeah, I was just coming back up in the room. I'll make a quick comment on what I was saying before. This article that I posted is about basically this technology that was developed over years using this. It's an optical technology, so if AI can apply that, it's using like a form of X-ray. And we see like in science fiction, even in like the Terminator, it's something we think robotics can apply things that we personify into it. Like we see things with our eyes, so we think that robots can have like supervision and kind of see through things. And so we're finding out that this is happening in real time here, and has been developed over the years. So in essence, like if ChatGPT had eyes to see, and then not only just regular vision, but can also apply night vision or X-ray or all this stuff. I mean, and then just change the game completely. But what's happening with the scroll is that humans typically aren't able to decipher any of these scrolls. they've just had them for so long. Unfortunately, because we were able to keep them, we can now apply this new technology that's doing something that people even 100 years ago would never have thought was possible. So it's pretty incredible that we have this ability now, and it might change how it's applied through machine learning. So let's say, for instance, and these are scrolls that we've had for a long time. If we make new discoveries, we find more scrolls or whatever it is like this, where we apply have an effort where you have more than one approach or methodology. You might have people doing remote viewing. You might have people that have already attempted to remote view some object or location or something. And then suddenly you might have applied technologies where it's using these types of these methods or techniques that are similar to these scrolls, where it's able to describe it with such a high degree of accuracy or like a subtle degree of error. But I think the question after that will become, well, how much of that is actually interpreted with a level of accuracy, or how much of it is like being withheld? If it's like an ethical concern, will AI actually tell us what it's actually uncovering, or would it withhold some information because of some ethical, intrusion or something in this program? So some interesting stuff going on. I will say though that it's interesting to see, just kind of more back to what we were just describing with these topics. I think that it's important to see that non-human intelligence is many things. We see it all around us in conventional life, but a lot of times in this context, we're describing things akin to extraterrestrial intelligence or things like this. So, context can be helpful, but we live around a lot of different types of non-human intelligence already, and that should at least tell us something. We understand that maybe people are describing certain types of morphology or individual subjects, like if someone describes seeing a reptilian being, or any of these types of encounters. It makes us wonder, and one of the last times we got together through the UFO Twitter Week, we were able to hold a space on what I like to call cosmic anthropology. And I'm fascinated with studying culture and how we operate and all these things. But if we're encountering these different individuals and these experiences, it makes us wonder, do they operate in a similar mode of life, where it's something where some people think that they're a hive mind, some people think that they're individuals, where one bad experience shouldn't make us think that the entire society or civilization, whatever it is like all this or that. Kind of like with racing, I don't know that it's just one or the other, but it can give us a sense of what we see in our life already. Humanity is very interesting with all the different array of values that we possess. So it's easy for us to anthropomorphize that to other ideas of intelligences here or out there, where we think maybe one individual of a species might have its own values. It may not account for the entire group or something like that.
Yeah, that's sick about the application of that AI, though, to be able to like take that language or that ancient text, or like that, people have talked about seeing symbols in their head or something, you know what I'm saying? And now being able to write that down and have AI analyze that and possibly come up with, a language structure and figure out what some of these texts or experiences mean. That's pretty wild.
Look at me. Sorry, guys. I was out trying to avoid drama, but no, it's just funny how sometimes stuff just kind of falls in your lap, right? So, yeah, guys, keep bringing your stuff out. The other night, we had an individual in here that was discussing some stuff, right? MK Ultras. I think it's cool that we can do that stuff. I just wanted to make a comment. I have on my Twitter my Proton. I think it's with the anomalous at proton.me. So I'll vet anybody that does, but I'm always looking for more sources with information. I don't need shit that's going to I don't need secrets that are going to get me murdered. But my point being is, I like these puzzles, and I will vet you because I do have sources to vet. But my point, this is a good opportunity to do that. So there you go, Astral. Retweet the spaces. What's up, B? Everybody?
One person to look into might be Paul Laviolette. He's he's talked about alternative propulsion and physics. So I'm not sure if I think him and Jack might be acquainted. I don't remember, but that might be something.
We should have everybody retweet or tag Jack right now for Shane. You're like, Jack, you better do the space, man.
Yeah, you can do it. I mean, I doubt if he'll pop in here. Look, I'm gonna be real. If Jack's a time traveler and he's a star kid, I bet you some of those individuals are probably eavesdropping on us remotely. Maybe, right? That'll make you think. Everybody's shitting their pants. What? No, I'm saying that who knows with when you're on these platforms, you never know who somebody is. Never. How do you know Astral's not Jack? I know Astral's not Jack. That's for damn sure. Two different people, but how do you know? So do me a favor, retweet this. We'll talk about anything in here, but I posted up in the nest, I think. Okay, so it's basically part 2 of the Human Genome Project. And it's between Mitocorp and Jason. If you go in at archive.org, type in Mitocorp Jason, you'll get a lot of documents. And those are some pretty good ones to go through. But this is kind of, if you guys want, read over it. But I'm going to kind of go over what the first Human Genome Project was kind of about. So John Ramirez is quoted saying that 1997, they had a symposium over the Human Genome Project. And it was essentially about hybridization, that and we all have some form of alien, whatever DNA, right? And then went on to say, which I quoted, and I'll try to find it and put it in the thread, that specific, I'm paraphrasing, guys, specific individuals are altered more, a little bit more, whatever reason that being. So those individuals, I'm going to go with, this is obviously all my opinion, my working opinion from research and shit. Those are the star kids, the targeted individuals, Dan Sherman, because Dan Sherman talks about, before anybody starts asking the question, but how would they know which ones? Well, Dan Sherman talks about the fact that while he's a communicator, Project Preserve Destiny, and I'll also say I'm leaning, that's real. I just took his PCS orders out of his book and broke down the fund site code, and the GSA is paying for all his stuff. Which, that's a flag right there. That's a black. I mean, they're funneling money for that reason. They're hiding where they're sending it. And so while he was there, I think he was talking to Bones, is the name of his contact there. But wait, I left off when I went to Bones, man. Where was that, Astral?
Bro,
Oh,
I'm
okay.
gone. I'm
I got
already
you.
lost.
I got you now. Here we go. Anyway, he communicated with a race, right? And whatever. And part of that, while he was communicating, he starts figuring out our abductions. They're being told like abductions are happening. So these abductions are the ones being. So the government has a list of people that have been tweaked, all that kind of stuff is what I'm kind of implying. That's what he was implying. So he's hearing these things, and it's happening, right? And so you take that with everything else, the Human Genome Project. You take what John Ramirez says. You can also look at indigo children. I've been researching indigo children a lot, and it's wild. Like, I think 1978 and on is when they kind of classify as that. Some of the different signs everybody's heard, like ADHD. And I'm telling you what, man, I haven't found a book yet that I haven't checked off all for all, like 17 of 7. Like, it literally, one of them almost described my life, including addiction and everything. And I'm like, this blows my frick. I mean, it's like someone either was messing with me and wrote that shit down, but it to me was a T. And I was like, holy shit, what is this? And I don't know what that is actually. And it sounds foo-foo and woo, but let me ask you, if we take hybrids as being a real thing, we're all hybrids. We also take, let's say, Thomas Bearden's paper, The One Human Problem. That one human problem being we can't exist in this form for very much longer. We need to essentially elevate ourselves, consciousness, whatever. Perhaps the UFOs, the UAPs, the control system, every bit of that's about bringing us up to that level, to the faceless whites from the Cosra mirrors, or the light beings that are actually puppeteering everything else. Maybe that's what all this is about. And the control system can be so in depth that you wouldn't even know it's there. You're getting help, which Gary Nolan, everyone keeps talking about gifts. It's trying to, but again, we're violent monkeys. So I imagine we're on the precipice of destroying ourselves because we can't do this much longer before we've got to figure out, and we're close because I think the secret's this consciousness. Everyone has an access to it. Once you learn how to use it, you can do multitudes of things. And I'm going to tell you time travel. I'm going to tell you all these other things that MK Ultra's figured out. And I post a lot about these things, right? It's all based on consciousness. There's papers from the CIA with the Cosrib mirrors, and you've got the Montauk, which what people hear is not really real, but there is a chair, and it's based on the Pegasus mirrors. It's a focal point. Imagine something that can focus, yes, psychic energy, make you extra psychic. So I even heard that the Minerva monster's ass was the monster that got brought forth in the whole Montauk experiment. While half of it's bullshit and half of it's real. Just like if you take the Philadelphia experiment, what happened there, and my legacy source kind of confirmed that shit for me when he told me, that's when we figured out that's not how to do matter. So you fast forward it, you can take that and just upgrade it and look at, I hate MH370, but here you go. Look at, the witness saying the glow and all these other things just reminds me of that. What do you think about that, Astral?
I want somebody to shoot a psychic enhancer at me.
Shit, that brings on another point. I actually read somewhere too, this although conspiracy sounding, they have some kind, not it's not a weapon, but obviously the devices that I talked about yesterday, they sound so much like what they would use in MK Ultra and Star Kids. They're trying to induce psychic abilities by using lights, these hertz at different waves. Well, I read somewhere they had perfected it, but they probably an NGO company. And people at the top, like literally people that are running the country, billionaires upon billion, maybe president, were getting extra brain usage out of it, right? Like it could do that. They were figuring out a way to unlock more of it, and it didn't trickle down. They used it because, again, this is where you come across the like there are caretakers. They're the ones that are here to keep us from hurting ourselves. That's what's going on when people talk about the ones behind the scenes and like the deep state. You have a group of individuals almost that essentially feel as if they're nobility. They're not necessarily bad, but what they think is it's their responsibility to make all choices for us and let us keep making them fake, right? But the point is because they think we'll fuck it up. That's the thing. Like they honestly think most of us are too dumb to understand what's going on. We'll freak out or this will happen. So what they do is they make all these choices on their own. And regardless of what you think about the Majestic 12 documents, there was some form of an organization under Reagan, things like that. And that's what these individuals do. And it gets even more. And, as you go along, you start realizing it's not necessarily about keeping anything in the secret. It's almost about control. Because if you go look at CIA papers for the Cosreb mirrors, they're interested in the healing factor, all these other things, right? You can go look at Gateway. Why are they trying to keep that from you? The secret's what they know about consciousness and how consciousness plays into the others, the craft, us. We all run on that third rail consciousness. And consciousness is essentially what the faceless whites are. That's what we got to get to. You become consciousness. That's what Thomas Bearden's talking about. Elevating yourself past the one human problem.
Yo, one thing I was wondering is, okay, so if we've got time travelers, right, like we're traveling back in time, then there would have to be some sort of limitation for them to be able to contact us, because why would they contact somebody and lay out a plan for what they're supposed to do over the next 40 years? You know what I'm saying? Like, why wouldn't they just show up and do what they needed to do? Why would they have to do like these subtle influences to us, in like this large scale direction of why
Well,
wouldn't they just
because
show up?
here's what I think. Because we're not seeing the big picture. We got to remember, if these are what we're talking about them being, at this moment, they're no different than a god. They're seeing everything all at once. So to them, that moment's no different than this moment. Then that there, does that make sense? So I know you and I are piecing it together. Why would they go then and do? They're maybe doing it all at once. It's us the time's flowing for. So it
But
looks
I
like
also think about what I mean. It could be where this could be the thousandth time that this has taken place, and they've been like, well, the last couple of times that we showed up physically, like we made it worse. It's better if we kind of push them along this other method, and we've had a lot more success. So it could even be like, like based off of previous interactions with other civilizations that are in the same spot that we are. Like this is the best way to do it, of moving it along.
oh, I agree. Could be. But I don't know. I look at it like this. If it is almost like perceived as a deity, get a god, right? It can do anything that we think of that, especially if it's interdimensional, which is where I'm leaning. Perhaps that's where I, everything we do, it's here now, seeing. There's no tomorrow. It's so for it to do the things you just said. Let's say it could go through my lifetime and put 15 events to control me for the control system. It'll do them all at once and that moment that it's having. It won't do it over my life. You know what I mean? How it's taken time for me to ever get to them. It'll just put them there, and they're all there for that. So imagine something that can see everything all at once and the control system. And I know it's not all love and light, because again, there's some bad, but it seems to me because over and over we keep gifting, these gifts. It's constant, right? And then you've got people talking about them. Then I know there's the whole magenta crash and what we got from that. And that supposedly we're using the nuclear power in the inappropriate way. Who would have thunk we would have done that, right? And that's pretty much what's been going on from the get-go. A lot of these are gifts. I mean, there's no other explanation besides that. Now, some are crashes or this or that or the other, but a lot are just straight up, technological upgrades. And is that because of treaties? What else is in those treaties?
I remember when I first got into the topic of UFOs, UAPs, I started reading books. And what stood out to me were people who had dreams basically of like this apocalyptic event happening and like UFOs coming down and like saving people, of like selecting like a few people and then just get on the spaceship, let's get out of here, like type of thing. I was like, oh, this is kind of weird.
Have you watched Tom Long's movie yet?
No.
Really? Look,
I almost felt like I've watched it through Twitter, but I just haven't had the time to like sit down and watch it. I think if it got better reviews, I would have probably already saw it, but I'm going to watch it eventually.
well, I don't watch movies and TV shows, and I definitely don't watch them because of reviews, but I'm glad I watched it, man. It took me at least 7 hours to get through it because I kept pausing it. I'm like, wait, what's that?
I was going to say, damn, that's a long ass movie.
Oh, no, I kept pausing it because it's just littered with bits and clues and like my brain
so you
works
would
that
pause it and then like make
dude,
the
that's how my brain works.
Yeah.
And it was frustrating me because I couldn't get past the scene. It'd turn over and I'm like, oh shit. And I had to pause it and I'd go and try to either take a picture or write it down. I'm like, this is insane. I'm never going to finish this movie. It's seriously, it's littered with information. And I'm just like, oh, wow. So I'm just trying to go through. I figured I'd go, at first I thought I'll watch it all. I couldn't. I'd see something. I'd get all excited at the implications, and how the Peter Tingle goes, bro.
I think it's good. It's good either way for me. Like it's a way to be like, it's like a conditioning for people, to kind of look at the topics in a lighthearted way and more in an entertainment, but also like I felt like I've watched movies before that weren't even trying to be like that. And there was a message in there and I'm like, damn, that shit resonated with me. And, it's not even trying to, but and it could be a lot of different things resonate with a lot of different people from that movie, just, based off of their interests, whether it was Bigfoot or UFOs or the government secrecy and other conspiracies.
Wait, what conspiracies? All those conspiracies are real, bro.
No, well, I'm saying like if you have a one that you're interested in, and then you see this movie and it sort of ties in a lot of the things which you would have thought are already conspiracies, and it makes you sort of look at it in a different light and more seriousness. It's kind of like lowering the stigma, but it's the using another method to do it. It's entertainment, but it's also lowering the stigma to get you to take it, to look more into the topic.
Right on. Do you think, let me ask you this, Do you think we have treaties? And after the treaties, do you think there's a galactic federation? And if so, do you know how I can get in touch with them?
No and no. I don't think we have any current deals like handshake shits that we have where we're like, yo, we got Grays on line 2, Mr. President. Like, no, I don't think that there's some sort of thing. I do think there's a lot of contact made between non-human intelligence and humanity right now. Like, I think that's happening probably a lot every day, a lot every hour. And in terms of like a galactic federation, I don't think there's like a fucking superhero group or like some people that have this badge on their thing out in outer space that are like like on Star Trek and shit. I think if there's non-human intelligence that are able to access different dimensions, I think they're aware of each other and they probably communicate with each other. That would only make sense. But I don't think and there might be a lot of agendas that are the same of like different things that they're trying to do, but I don't think that there's like this like group that's like, I don't know, overseeing us. That's just my opinion, though.
I just posted a document in the box, but it's oh sorry, it's thundering right now. But it talks about the CIA using children for PSI research. If you go ahead and look up that case number, it'll tell you more in depth. I just posted one page.
Actually, I'm going to look into it. Thank you for giving that to me, by the way, Angela. That's actually fire. So
I'll send you a bunch. I have a whole bunch.
Sweet. Daniel, go ahead.
I was just kind of making light. There used to be a pretty strong movement. I guess there kind of still is like a contingent of people who feel strongly about the Galactic Federation flight and Lord Commander Ashtar. So don't see a lot about that these days, but that sort of had a pretty sizable following for a while, and people would share these channelings, I guess they would call them, about pretty much all of these types of things about the coming time, and we're with you, and just keep it up, and all these kind of motivational type speech elements almost. So it's kind of one of those things where they would just keep bringing up, we're almost with you, just keep holding out, and so it's easy to say that when it's sort of this this disconnected, somewhat removed persona being brought forth by a person or a group of people, like claiming to channel some of these things. But yeah, I mean, for a while, maybe about 10 years ago, the Galactic Federation of Light was a pretty, and way before that too, was a pretty kind of up and coming type of thing. So whether there's something to it or not, people definitely feel impacted by it, and so that means something.
I like to say the only reason I broach that, I hear it in a number of places, see remote viewing targets for the Galactic Federation. Alex Collier discusses it in detail a lot, like if you go to his website. But sometimes, man, I'll run across things that just blow my mind, like if they're real, because I remember a time when I didn't believe this shit was real. So I don't do that anymore. But when Alex Collier and somebody else is talking, they're talking about their sources within the Galactic Federation that happen to be of whatever race, saying they just captured X amount of tall grays, and that's a big thing because they use vibration to get in and out, and so they're hard to catch. And when I've heard stories before about their travel and that being a problem type thing from other places, so then I start questioning, like, oh shit, how crazy is this gonna get?
Well, I think one of the problems is that people read about these books, like Book on the Pleiadians, and then they have like a lucid dream or a paranormal experience, and then they immediately associate what they did with what they just read as like, oh, I've just been you know what I'm saying? And so they take it to the next level. And I think so it could be a little bit toxic when people like start reading about this stuff, other people's experiences. They have an experience that's not normal, and they immediately associate it with somebody else's experience. And so I think that's where a lot of people start talking about this, but a lot of it is sort of feels like regurgitated in a sense where they just like read a book and had maybe an experience, and now they are claiming to be this person.
True. Welcome, Jamie. What's going on?
Thanks. Yeah, I was just going to mention that yes, I had heard you say before something about treaties, and so I thought that was interesting. And then also I had seen on YouTube. I haven't really watched any of the videos. Something about they named themselves Galactic Federation. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it. Probably not run by the NHI, but you never know because I've heard some people share in spaces that they've seen them, grays and stuff at in the government buildings or whatever when they were going to be sworn in or something.
Wait, what? You talking about Will?
I don't remember who it was, but I think it was actually two different people mentioning stuff about similar things, but yeah, but they definitely didn't seem to be fibbing.
Look, I'll listen to anything, write it down, research it, and then start asking people that I trust, sources, whatever questions, and they'll tell me that's bullshit or not. So now I keep my mind open about everything. Matter of fact, no matter what anyone thinks, and I don't like talking about the MH370 right now. My point is, I'm there for a reason, and the reason I still believe it's legit shit is because it's not hard to go to there if you know we've had the tech for a minute. NGOs have, and that's the case I was working. They've had, and that's what everyone was talking about. Imagine us being compartmentalized here at the government. We're not doing any kind of future progression on this tech because we're not putting money into it. Scientists are compartmentalized, but we had handed over some of these things to civilian corporations with NDAs and deal. These guys were funneling that shit and making their own things, obviously, hand over foot. Now, if one company owns a vast majority of those and it gets complicated, that's where BlackRock, right? That's who Tom DeLonge's talking about in his books. That's the Blackwater, right? So it's one of these things. It's not hard for me to see that. I just didn't picture it used like that because I actually was working towards in my head, I know for a fact we have portal tech and we can do that. Hell, we started with the Philadelphia experiment. May have messed it up. We started. So it's not very hard for me to think X amount of years later, a company that is billions upon billions more richer than our government, right? Just funneling money can figure out a way to mobilize said portal tech. Because if you look at the video, that's exactly what you need. The glowing red thing in the back, you got to have a platform, two platforms. That's the only way you get matter to travel from one place to the other, or it doesn't. That's how they messed up on the Philadelphia experiment. So that's what that glowing platform is. And it looks like a mobilized version of that. And I'm going to stick with it until it all comes fumbling down. I'm like, oh, I guess it was a nope. I still don't think it is. Maybe you guys know about the incident that was in Alaska, shoot down that no one's still heard of, right? Well, that's Blackwater. That's one of there was Blackwater, Black Rock, one of the reverse engineered craft. Now, I was thinking it was in Alaska. They had a spot in Alaska, probably megalith. But think about this: no one's looking at the North Pole. No one. And do we think that these
Santa,
megaliths? What? What's that?
Santa Claus.
Santa and. But my point is, do we think these megaliths only exist in all other areas that are really icy? I mean, no. So apparently, now I'm going to recorrect myself. I thought it was near Fish River. There's an underground pyramid there, but I thought maybe that's the megalith they were at. I'm saying they're coming and going from the North Pole. They got a spot up there at the North Pole that they're coming and going from. Matter of fact, that's probably where the second portal is. I know it sounds wild, but again, here's how the series of events. This is what I'm going to tell you to happen, and then I'll move on from the MH370. So Black Rock, Blackwater, it's all about these freaking semiconductors. They're intertwined with the military in China, but all the giveaway is the videos. One of the videos you see the screen is obviously what I would say is sentient, our AI UAP tracking. And then you see another video. I think that video is coming from Delta 2. Delta 2 is a Space Force group, and if you look at them, they're basically a quick reaction offensive force. And you can look, they're stationed everywhere, but they're also stationed out of Diego Garcia. You take those things and you piece China's phone call, you piece that with what I told you about the known NGOs and the fact that I've been saying since it happened that was probably reverse engineered tech that crashed in Alaska. They're traveling back and forth from the North Pole. They're somewhere up there because no one's looking at the North Pole. Everyone knows shit's going on in the South Pole. No one, period, is looking up there. And that's where these NGOs have their little hideout. Hey, can anybody give me some information on MK Gold? Just asking. I needed to ask that, by the way. And go ahead, Jamie.
I was just curious. You said crashed, but it was shot down, wasn't it? With one of the balloon and the other two things.
Yeah, it was shot down. That's your giveaway. It wasn't an actual UAP because that's also why I think the Peru, just like the Peru crash, wasn't because Peru. Jonathan, his last name I can't remember. But anyway, 1997, there was a a crash in Peru, but during that time frame, the military was there to do some kind of a drug interdiction thing. And Jonathan, the individual, the witness, was a Marine. He was actually the one that came across it. Well, they ended up shooting this down with a missile. That's a dead giveaway that it's not a UAP, because from multiple sources, you need to interrupt the gravity drive from the other one, so you need some kind of directed energy weapon. We have shitty ass tech that's reverse engineered, right, in some way. Can't quite do everything there. So I think that in 1997 was also our tech. I don't know whose, but then you look at, was it Indonesian Michael Herrera? He's a Marine who ran across not a crash, just some ops guys doing looked like some human smuggling. Now it makes a little more sense if you think it's not a government, but possibly like these NGOs. So I'm telling you, we need to look at the North Pole. So get on Google Earth, go.
So are you saying basically that we that are the majority or all of the ones that we've quote unquote shot down are our technology, because the technology of anybody that's interacting with us, if it's extraterrestrial or alien, that it's so advanced that we wouldn't be able to bring it down?
Not always the case. Something can happen, I imagine. But overall, if we're shooting them down with a SAM, either they've already gone malfunction by lightning or something, because any kind of a pulse, any kind of like an EMP would also work, right? Or those directed energy weapons that are basically based on the piezoelectric effect. So you can use the piezoelectric effect to interrupt these gravity drives. I'm not saying it's always the case, but the first thing I think when I hear was shot down with one of our terrestrial weapons was it was our tech. Because how many times have we shot at? Oh, and you'd be surprised, and we can't do shit to hit nothing.
You mentioned the galactic federation, like that's where I feel like it would come in, is where other civilizations would be like, hey guys, these humans, yeah, they're they got a little bit of they're messing with nukes, they got a little bit of capability here, you might want to be careful, be cautious when you go over there.
Hey, let me ask you this. I know I have faith in our military. What pilot would shoot down a balloon with a $700,000 missile? It's not going to happen. He has other methods to do so. And from what he said about, if you guys remember what he said about how it interacted with his craft, think about those things. Those fit with the Black Rock. Matter of fact, they're coming and going. We're going to go North Pole. There's a place there that they've got their shit. Probably where they portaled. No shit, man. And then it's wild as crazy as it sounds. It's all been there for a minute. We've been shot, I guess, just humiliated, thought to think we can't even talk about these subjects, right? Here's what's wild. Even when there's video evidence of stuff, like to say MH370, we've been conditioned as a society to automatically turn away, kind of grants and say that's fake, right? And then individuals that talk about it are kind of relegated to, man, that's where we are. And I said this 6 months ago. I said it's just tip of the iceberg, this crash retrieval. This stuff's real. And the easiest way for me to justify it is, man, I known this tech was real by just researching from Khosrow mirrors all the way to Montauk and our different programs such as Pegasus. You got Operation Superman, all these different things we tried that were MK Ultra related, right? And they rely on all these different variations. So how are we thinking someone didn't perfect that shit? I mean, they started with the Philadelphia experiment and something happened. Didn't take long. Montauk, something happened. In Russia, when they did the Khosrow mirrors, something not only happened, they documented the hell out of it. And to think our government is going to be like, oh, it's not happening. No, they took it and they perfected it. And once you have the keys to consciousness, you have the keys to just everything. You know what's going on. I mean, literally time travel, all that shit. What's up, B?
Hey, good afternoon. Thanks for hosting this space, guys. Um, I I wanted to come in because as far as perfecting it and bottling it up and giving it as a shot of psi astral, it was a recent big discovery for me because I the genetics of psi that Dean Radin and Institute of Noetic Sciences did. I did not know that Gary Nolan was involved in that back from 2015. Now, Gary Nolan has his cognitive genetics corporation that he started, but Dean Radin also has the cognogenics, where they they are revolutionizing the way mental health conditions are treated. It's a technology utilizing genetic neuroengineering non-invasively. Um, and just a lot of those things tying in together is very promising. Looking at it, and I'm really looking forward to hearing Raiden and Abby Loeb on the 25th.
Feels like a small community when you look at a lot of the researchers, that are doing things and are actually like contributing and posting articles, and it's refreshing to see, but it's also not surprising that Gary Nolan and Dean Radin. I mean, I would love for Dean Radin to get more active in the UFO UAP community. I just think that he's so, like, to me, he's the consciousness guy. Like, he's, to me, like, going to be the next freaking Einstein
Hold up.
on
Hold
that
that.
level.
Astral, I don't tell you again, bro. UFOs and consciousness, same thing, man.
I know, but that's not, it's not the same thing to prominent researchers and physicists and people who need to jump in the field. They don't see it as the same thing. They see it as like still fringe, and I think that's where a lot of the stigma can be directed towards, is the apprehension from scientists who would definitely help the field push forward, but they're standing on the fence like, I don't know, man. There's this stigma still there that I'm going to be ridiculed by my peers, and I'm going to be, fucking cursed out online, and people, you know what I'm saying? So I think like a lot of people, like Weinstein is one of these guys. Like, I'm not a big fan of him, but if he jumped into the field and actually started doing shit instead of like criticizing others, it would probably help from a physics standpoint to get a lot of these other people on board of like actually contributing and studying this stuff.
B, go ahead, girl.
And no, I was just gonna impress. Like, Astral, did you get to go back and see the Ions Dr. Edgar Mitchell birthday announcement that they did with Dr. Sean? Um, I can never pronounce his long hyphenated name. But I don't know if you were able to see that, but that was their official coming out party that they are now on the disclosure discovery train. So all of the studies and science that they've been keeping hush hush, I think we're now seeing Dean Radin and ions coming out for what's obviously been planned for some time. And I remember at the inquiry of the anomalous, the way that Gary Nolan, his whole vibe changed when he was talking about Aiden, right? And I've seen that a couple of times, but it's very exciting. I think we got a lot to look forward to with the consciousness part of this being, and I think it's going to herald back the Elizondo just disclosures coming, but not in the way that many would want or even would even think of. So I'm looking forward to those developments.
Thanks,
But
B.
one other thing I wanted to say, one more thing about Astral, when you were talking about people reading something that I, I, I kind of been calling that quantum observer entrapment, quantum dramas, because part of this experiencing this stuff seems to have an ability to just knock those what used to be called the junk DNA they've now isolated as part of the attributes of the psi genes, right? I just lost my spot. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I do that every day, all day. Oh, it's so annoying. And here I am wanting to be I'll go on a podcast and do it, like with my face, like, oh shit, where was I? And I have to. That's the only reason Ryan and Mariah exist. They take care of me. So she keeps a piece of paper to write as I'm talking, so she knows where I stopped and what I lost, so she can immediately do it. That's what teams are all about.
That's amazing. Awesome. Yeah, everybody yeah, I have that too where I'm like, I can't even remember what we were talking about just now. I just need rewind 30 seconds, 20 seconds. That's it.
My problem is sometimes like my brain starts like, oh, someone to talk UFOs with? Let me dump it all. And it wants to make connections, just and it's rolling through. And most people are just like, wait, what the hell are we talking about right now? And I get a little ahead of myself and my mouth's just going and going. Then I just lose complete track of where we were. So you can usually get money out of me that way. You said you're gonna leave me $20. Do me a favor, retweet the space if you can, quote it, and we're actually just going to ride this out until Astral says, "Hey, let's start mine so we can start RVing."
Yeah, I'm gonna start in an hour.
Wow.
Sounds good. So keep this one going. Also, when you're retweeting, when you put stuff in here like links and things to articles, papers, documents, it makes it that much better. And I know you don't understand or believe me, but I promise you, people come in these and they actually hear these. These are way cooler than podcasts because you can have an archive of different things. So we can actually talk about things and people stop popping them in there and people can jump in the rabbit hole. And before you know it, guess where they're at? They're
Speaking,
right
they're
here with me,
co-hosting.
knowing that the earth is a farm and we're just being harvested.
I went in a different direction. Sorry, I'm saying they were co-hosting. You're like luring them out into the woods at a crop circle.
It's not, I mean, it's not all bad.
Different agendas.
Yeah, it's not all
There's
bad news. I
different
mean, why they're
kinds, so yeah, I'm sorry to cut in, but yeah, that sounded like Astral was all in transcendence somewhere in this echoey, beautiful, very tall, vaulted ceiling hallway. It's like I don't know if everybody else.
The
yeah, I
garage.
ruined it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I ruined it. That happens. That happens often actually. They call me the cooler. Welcome. Welcome to the cooler space. So I could tell you that my experience, it's funny actually, because here, this is how wild my experience has been. I'll tell you guys this. I've been outside twice now, looking up, haven't seen shit, and started wondering, like, man, are they gone? Not that I think they are, but is it weird to work? Something's been in your life so goddamn long and much. Now I'm like, am I gonna be lonely because these guys are gone? Whatever the fuck that is, guys. Whatever this was gone. And it's probably nothing. Or maybe it is. Maybe everybody be like, all right, this guy's got some issues we gotta round
No,
off.
they're taking that smoke break, bro.
Yeah, they gotta
Yeah,
land
I
so they can
guess,
get out
man.
of the craft and smoke. It's a non-smoking craft.
Well, then again, I'm also in Illinois, so they're probably like, fuck that place, man.
It doesn't matter, brother. That's why I say the peekaboos are some of my favorites as far as what they represent to me. It's just it's pretty much, and they're always something's always there, whether you see it or not. You're never alone, dude.
Yeah.
They're like, yo, Shane's down in Miami tonight. Do we really want to go deal with that?
I'm probably the only one that both the NHI and handlers abandoned, like, God damn, this guy's, God, he's got some issues, man. Let him go.
Yeah, pick up a trail later. Yeah, yeah.
Somebody tried to accuse me of being a disinfo agent. I was like, oh, there ain't no handlers that can tolerate me, man. Not family can't even tolerate me. So now,
You're not doing anything on UFO Twitter until you're getting accused of being a diso and information agent. So it's a
what
good
was
sign.
wild is he called. Hey, I need everybody to understand something, though. I understand some of the information can be classified under conspiracy and things like that. No biggie. I get all this. But to be an individual who starts a UFO conversation and just hijacks it all the way into 9/11 right away. And then when you mention just by chance that you once heard an energy weapon was used to try to take them planes down, blah, blah. And that's a conspiracy type shit, right? And then he's like, you're a disinfo agent. You're a conspiracy. I'm like, wait, hold the fuck. You brought me here, bro. I'm just giving you some shit that I heard. He literally called me a conspiracy theorist, disinfo agent after he brought me to 9/11 with all the conspiracies.
Wow, that's terrible. It sounds like he trapped you there, in a way, and that's kind of strange, but you're doing so well. We're really proud of you. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences with us. And it was so fun to be able to when I look up in the sky, every time I look up in the sky since let's see, the summer.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. I shared one with you, didn't I,
Yes,
Jamie?
yes, and Mr. Padilla and Chrissy and my husband
And
and
Roswell,
yes,
my orb.
it was, and every time I look up now, there's one up there, like for it's been months and months, except for sometimes when it's cloudy, and then there'll be like a different color one over that way, a little bit different, it's like a reddish color or whatever. I don't know what the deal is with that, but that one's not always there, but it's interesting. And then sometimes I'm like, are they gone too? So when you were saying that, like, are they gone? You've looked twice, they're not there. I've had that where I'm like, look up there, oh, nope, there it is. It's just it's funny, it's fun.
Well, I mean, on that note, I know I said that stuff about them. We can perceive them as that, if because they can see everything all at once, right? If they're another dimension, let's say up a dimension or two. And another example, I shared with you, and you just made a comment that reminds me. One sec. Dale, I say, anonymous observer. He's on UFO Twitter, great podcast, TikTok. actually good friend. He wanted his first experience, and I was living up in Washington, and I said, you know what? If I can, I can. I can't promise anything, man. It's so far, it's happened like 7 times with anyone, groups of people. Let's try. So we actually went over to Toppenish, which there's a casino there, but it was the 4th of July, and I was like, oh shit, man, we're gonna have to figure something else out because it's the 4th. And so we decided to get up at 3:30 in the morning. So we both set our alarms. We hung out, had dinner, all that kind of cool stuff. We walked out the door. I shit you not. When we walked out the door at 3:30 in the morning, there it was going across the sky. I said, Dale, he's what? I said, that's it. And he's like, I can't. Then he starts seeing it. He's like, oh, what is that? And it's just going across. And we're having trouble seeing it because we're seeing the lights in the parking lot. But you clearly see an orb, and it's under the clouds, right? And it's going and it's going. And then he starts having his own experiences, and he keeps having them. So, yeah, man, I don't even know what it is. I have no clue. Now people can understand why I get freaked out a little bit. Now I'm gonna be freaked out the opposite if they don't come back,
I
man. I'm gonna feel
right?
bad.
You're like, what do you do? Not miss me? No. But sometimes I wonder, is it like some of Elon's satellites or something, because of the things I've seen about that. Anyway, I don't know. So it's just either way, they're cool. It's cool AF. So yeah.
Well, all you gotta do is this: get an app out. Elon's satellites usually come up in groups, right? And you can always see if you pay attention, watch one go by, you'll see more. Not always the case, but if you pay attention, you'll see that it's probably sun shining off of something like a satellite, or you have your phone out. Now, one of the things with that you can tell when they're orbs or whatnot would be, is just an example. With me, when they're below the clouds or they're doing things like that, when they're close, when you guys were with me, it came up behind my back, didn't it? And you guys mentioned it, and I turned around and we could clearly
Yeah.
see it in the distance. And I looked at it and I said, "No, that's way too bright." I said, "That's
Yeah.
got to be a
You
star
thought
or
it was a
something." And I turned
yeah.
around and it disappeared in front of your guys' eyes.
It took no,
So
it took a while, and then I was like, my phone was dead, and the van was right there, but I was so excited and enthralled with what's going on that I didn't even walk over like what is it, 8 feet to go grab the cord to charge my
I think
phone.
I didn't even turn around. I kept smoking weed with whoever I was smoking
Yeah,
weed. Michael,
we were all smoking weed. So, but we had just started to smoke it, it hadn't even.
tell everybody where this was
This
at.
was in Roswell, and we were
Yeah, it
looking. Let's
was.
see. Oh gosh, we were looking.
And then the next night, I shared it with like seven more people, including the owners of the record.
Yeah, we saw it the next night. I looked up and it was over near the same area, and I was like, "What?" I said, "Is that again?" And I mentioned it to you, and you were
Oh,
like, "Oh
now check this
yeah."
out. The next night we were out there, something completely different. Basically, the ones that when I think Arnold and Eric Davis even said they move biologically. That's what I sometimes see. Just moving biologically across the skies looks like it's going left to right in a way. Yeah, that's often what I see. And they saw him that night with me too. Not the orb. We didn't even see an orb. We literally just saw it going back and forth. It'd go one direction and then come back another direction and then go. I was just calling it because I was like, oh, this is them. Watch. And then I'd be like, all right, wait, it'll come here. And it kept doing that shit, switching directions. And then they had me bring my camera out, and I told them, it says, we aren't going to be able to film it. It'll actually stop. So I brought it out. It all stopped. And then I went, I grabbed it, and I said, just watch. I'll go put this inside. As soon as I put it inside, I hear his, Toby's granddaughter, there it is, there it is. And it comes back. And everyone, there's 7 of us, all of us saw it just coming and going. So like I said, it's not a satellite. It's coming and going. And matter of fact, different heights, things like
Yeah,
that. So.
exactly. Well, and there's geosynchronous satellites too. And I mean, I know I've seen the ones in the line. Those are adorable and everything, but there's supposed to be one that like comes down and then like can look around and stuff and then go back up. But I don't know if they're just all part of the train ones or if that's one of the geosynchronous, because the geosynchronous satellites, when I looked at it last year, um, it was saying that they could only move north to south. And the stuff that we've been seeing move all different kind of directions and different speeds and stuff in the sky and at different levels. So
Did you ask it if it was a satellite? Usually they'll say, yeah, man, I'm satellite or not.
No, but one time I did turn around when I was, I think I was in a space. I was making a video after listening to one of your spaces, and I turned around. I was like, "What else is here?" And I wonder what else is out of here. And I looked over, and there was two lights, and one was a satellite, and the other one was another golden light behind it. And I thought it was a satellite too. I was like, "That's weird, two in a row like that. I don't, that's not normal." And then I noticed the one zooming up behind it, and then it's pacing it, and then it's kind of zigzagging, and I had somebody on the phone to look because I had been watching something else that looked like a satellite, and then it just stopped. And so, and that's while I was in one of your spaces. So interesting.
So right, before we get over to Kimball, I'll say this too. It actually has me wondering sometimes, because I'll be the first to admit, when my experience happened, and I'll go ahead and class myself as a super experiencer, right? I check off all those, whatever. When mine happened, though, all of a sudden, because again, I was coming from shit, had nothing, there was really nothing going on. That was the best thing in my life. All of a sudden, I latched on and everything became, nothing was prosaic anymore. And I went overboard like everyone else, right? Everyone usually does that when they first, especially if they are multi-experiencer, or
Super
again,
experiencer.
yeah, I'd say super, but sometimes people see it more than once, and then they go into the rabbit hole. Like everything becomes that. Every single
Oh
thing.
yeah,
I've
yeah,
been
yeah.
there. You know what I mean? Like it's that, and you lose because there's no one really to pull you back from the edge. That's what usually we would have medical professionals shout out, UAP med, things like that. People that say no, not necessarily, but there's none of that. So even me with an experience that was nuts, right? I I would go overboard. Everything I was just chasing. All I wanted was that. Like even now, I go back and I'll delete things on my Twitter videos that I now know was probably prosaic, and I was just so that was my only friend at that time before I found UFO Twitter and shit. Right? I was so trying to keep my mind in that. So it was just constant, right? And so I had to be careful for a long time. But the biggest refresh is once you realize, oh shit, it's probably way crazier than I thought anyway. So let me just take a breath, right? And open my eyes. Dude, just paying attention to everything, I don't think I was as crazy as I thought. Yes, a lot of the things that I thought they ended up being prosaic. But the things that weren't prosaic were the things that I didn't ever fucking talk about. The downloads, things that are so nuts that no one would understand them, right? And they continued. Things that I don't understand. Matter of fact, the only reason I now feel better about myself and have a little understanding of myself is because of these questions that I've answered that no one's even talking about. Like things like the hunch or psi abilities or downloads or again indigo chill and all these other things and what they mean. Seriously, where else can you go to look? Here. And I'm sorry guys, we are your professionals, so retweet the space. Kimball, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, Shane. So when you go out, I mean, you mentioned you went back, grabbed your camera, and it all stopped. That makes quite a bit of sense. Do you have the same thing pretty much with any kind of device, like your phone, or is it just like the high end? Like,
Well, check this out. For the first year to 2 years, they didn't give a shit. Then I bought my camera equipment. When I was using my gimbal and cell phone, I was recording the shit out of them. Then I bought my what is it? Sony. I got a Sony Alpha. No, I got a Sony. God darn. Where's it at? Right there. Remember. I couldn't remember which one I bought. So the Alpha 7R is at the 3 version 2. 48 megapixel camera, but it can do
yeah, that's what I
nighttime.
got.
Yeah, nighttime it pricks you. I suck at it, man. I'm actually thinking about getting rid of it because my other camera I'm better at, right? I wanted a video camera, and this is a photo camera, and I'm like, man, I messed up. Yeah, I'm the only guy that does that. I spent $6,000 and messed up. I got the photo one, but it would do it with these cameras, right? It'd show up. But here's the fucked up thing: it play games. I'd go to put it up, walk outside, there it is. Okay, cool. Did this quite a bit, right? I couldn't get any more videos. Then one day, I think it's on my Twitter, and I know somebody actually argued, "Oh, it's the satellite, it's this or that." Okay, that's plausibility. But I looked afterwards, definitely not. And the thing that gets me is I literally sat on my knee. I set my camera up, and I said to myself, all right, if you're real, this is real. Show up in the frame now. Then that satellite just showed up right in the frame, you know? That orb just came cruising down. And you even hear me saying, mother, just cursing and screaming like, yeah, thank you. Because again, I said it and it happened instantly. Now, if we want to keep with the satellite theory, right? How lucky am I that all the time when I'm at the individuals walking outside, satellites just appear around me and they're always glowing, always know where I'm at. And I can't ever tell that they're satellites with apps or nothing. So what's nuts? That's one of the things I get so irritated about. It's like, all right, I've been here doing this shit long enough. When something gets 60 feet from you, it's not a satellite. You know, things like, dude, I've had an encounter so close with an orb. I remember one night, actually, I'm going to tell you guys something that freaked me out a little bit. This is the one that freaks me out. I don't understand. December 17th, 2 years ago. That's when my real shit began. So I remember I was outside. It was like 4 p.m. Off in the distance, I thought I saw Sirius at 4 p.m. I'm like, God damn, that's bright. And I clearly kept seeing, I was like, is that moving? It looks like it's moving, but I couldn't quite tell. It was getting a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger. And I was like, is that moving? So I'd start to video it, and you can, maybe I'll post it in here if I find it, but clearly looks like it's moving. And one of the ways you know it's moving is I'm videoing it. You see it move in front of the branches of a tree that's 60 feet from me across the road. You can clearly see the light and the trees go behind it. So I didn't know this at the time, that it was that close. I just kept recording thinking, is that moving? Fast forward it. And this is the part that freaks me out. And then all I remember is I look up and it's in a different spot now. And I'm recording it. It's going away. And I got about a second of it recording it, going in a different direction. I'm trying to figure out what the fuck just happened there. And then hour and 34 minutes gone. For reals. Hour and 34 minutes between when I first saw it and when I recorded the second one. And I've got both recordings. I think it was an hour and 34, around that. I have no idea the time in between. I was like, wait, what the fuck? Didn't think about it because I didn't quite get to some of these things. That night I went inside. I was downstairs. I think I've told this part of the story before about laying down. All of a sudden, everything's coming into my head, just everything all at once, just all kinds of shit. And I'm actually kind of boohoo and crying a little bit. It's in the dark in my basement. I open my eyes, just kind of breathing. And as my eyes adjust, I see what looks to be two darks, two different types. Something which looks to be inches from me is dark. And then I see what looks to be normal dark all around me. Mine doesn't do anything yet. And I'm just sitting there. It's just pitch black in the basement. And so I sit there, and as my eyes adjust, I swear I see movement between dark and dark. So my eye starts looking and it shifts a little bit. When it shifts, what was inches in front of me just instantly goes backwards and just, I don't know which way it went. All I know is I got up. Oh, it makes me understand it. Got up screaming, tried to turn my light on, couldn't get my light on. I almost burst into, at the time, my ex-wife, and because my kid was in there as well, into the room freaking out. But I stopped myself knowing it would have freaked everybody out. And I had a couple minutes to try to go back downstairs. And I was trying to figure out, okay, what did I do? What did I see? That's not what I thought it was. I don't know what that was. But you know what it reminded me of later when I read it? In Skinwalker Ranch, in the book about the original book, it talks about that 8-foot mass. That's what it reminded me. It didn't have a shape. It was just a big ass, and it looked manufactured. By manufactured, I mean, you ever seen Predator? But it was dark. The Predator movie, but it was literally like the dark. The only reason I noticed it, it was that close to me, and I freaked the fuck out. And that's the first time I saw something. And the only other thing I ever saw was sitting outside by myself, and I looked downstairs, and there's a window to my bottom right. As I look through the window, I know there's no one home. You can see the stairs and everything. I see the same fucking thing come down the stairs, like down the stairs, and just like, what was that? Didn't even think twice though. I was like, all right, I'm seeing shit. Trying to figure out what it was. Just a mass of dark that was clearly, because the lights were on this time. This time it kind of got me like, okay, what am I seeing here? But imagine dealing with all that shit and your UFOs that's real while everyone around you is telling you you're schizophrenic, right? And you're dealing with harassment. Yeah, that's why I almost took my life. It was like, this is never going to end, man. But here we are, me and Astral being cool guys.
Thank you so much for sharing your stuff with us. It's really important. And I think you were hosting or co-hosting a space that I first spoke up in, and you were talking about, some of the psi stuff and precognition and, had sightings. And I had started becoming part of Dr. Julie Mossbridge's precognition experiment in April of 2019. And we saw UAP, UAV, UAFO. They used all those terms, move on, when they said that that's what we had seen in August of 2019. And very interesting stuff. So it's so cool to be able to come here and see this. And I was going to say some other stuff, but I just really appreciate you speaking up and having these spaces, because it really does help. Like it's amazing.
Thanks, Jamie. Before we get over to Angela, I will say this too. Before anyone thinks, oh, this guy's full of shit, I want to tell you guys, Ted Rowe, I love that dude, man. I'm very thankful for him. I'm also very thankful for a couple of my anonymous sources that stepped in and saved my life at that time when I took a shovel to the head, right? Actually, if you guys were around, you would have saw me post a video. That's how I had to deal with it, because no one would believe me, shit like that. And so people stepped in. Ted Rowe, actually, poor guy, everything that I now know to be true, I pre-dumped to him, and he probably thought this guy's lost his goddamn mind. The downloads, stuff I knew, and it all came out like I thought. There's a record of it. I'm not even fucking around. What's up, Angela?
Hey, I just wanted to say thank you for hosting this space and giving survivors and other experiencers a voice and a place to speak. I've only had one UFO experience. Everything else has been paranormal. But mine was August 2nd, 2011. We saw one land in Warsaw, North Carolina. It was at 10:47 p.m. There are videos circulating all the way from Greensboro over Raleigh. We just happened to see where it landed, and I say landed because it didn't crash. It did land right outside of a private airport, and it's 45 minutes direction to get to a Walmart. It's in the middle of nowhere. And right after that experience happened, the military had came in and took over that entire area. But shortly after, we heard a humming sound from the woods. It was really low frequency but loud. And shortly after that, we saw what appeared to be like a glowing orb way off in the distance, but it was zipping and zooming, and it moved off really, really fast. And I did not believe in this type of stuff before then. I've always, I told you paranormal, but I was never really open to that.
I got a question for you guys. Hold on, let me read it real quick. Let's see. Can anyone get, or do you have info on MK Gold project? Morrison Knudsen did MK Rail, but there was a project MK Gold. I can't find information on it. Can anyone find it? MK Gold? Oh shit! Don't want to read that part.
Do you have Angela in here? She's awesome at that kind of stuff, because I know
I'm literally on there right now. I'll be right back.
that is so great.
That's cool.
Yes. And so I was, darn, I forgot what I was gonna say. Let me come back. Sorry. Oh, I was gonna say, in you helped me one time, because I had seen when we were in Canada still, and I had seen these lights in the sky that were obviously not out in the atmosphere, because it was smoky AF in Canada last year around this time when we drove down, and I'd seen these lights in the sky, and I thought part of it was maybe it was a mountain, and then I saw this other one above that, and so I videoed, and I talked to people about it in space. I think I sent you a video, Oldette, and then you were like, "What do you think it is?" And I was like, "Not sure." I thought it was maybe a couple of cars going, and it would like blink on and off. And I thought maybe it was just like a bunch of cars going down the hill or something. And then I was like, well, that's probably not going to happen. And then I saw this other thing up there, and I noted where it was, because I was like, well, if I look tomorrow when the sun comes up, I can see where the mountains are, because I was unfamiliar with the way it looked in the sky there. So I looked, and definitely, because we were broken down, we couldn't move the van at all. And I knew that where I was seeing that other light was totally in the sky, but also like not way, way up there. It was close. And I've seen some since then, like in this May 25th, eastern New Mexico, we saw some that were close to the ground, and I had remembered about other times that I had missing time. And so I took pictures of it, and the first one didn't come out because it was the flash was on. But then I also like took screenshots of the GPS and everything to try to see if I had missing time, and I don't think I did. But I definitely, my husband saw the one that was closer to the ground, moving around. He said it looked like a little kid was kind of drawing in the sky. So that was pretty interesting. And I didn't feel bummed out anymore because I noticed a feeling of being bummed out after I had precognitive dream about seeing orbs close to the ground. And but I've noticed several of my sightings have had precognitive dreams in them when I go back to look at my Dream Journal Ultimate app, and I'm just curious, like, if anybody else has that too. If they're noticing a pattern.
If so, come up here. But real quick, what I'm going to do is I actually put it in the nest. I'm going to read something to you guys. I hope you don't care I read it. So, Radical Scholar did a blog post on the one human problem. And I started reading it. I just want to read it. Might as well read it in here, right? So, give me a sec. I'm going to start reading it. Can you hear me, Astral? You still alive?
Barely.
No? Okay.
I'm here.
All right. All right. And he even added the space where we talk about to it. How cool, man. So check us out. A shift in the winds of perception. In 1976, the world witnessed a series of transformative events that reshaped the narrative around unidentified flying objects. The election of Jimmy Carter, a nuclear engineer and a UFO witness as the President of the United States, marked a significant shift. His testimony added a layer of credibility to the countless UFO sightings reported by individuals worldwide. Declassifying the Unknown Project Blue Book. U.S. government's release of sanitized Project Blue Book files in the same year was a monumental step. Despite its imperfect investigation methods, the data within these files was a treasure trove, leading UFO researchers, including Dr. Alan Hynek, embarked on a mission to decipher the mysteries contained within. Official acknowledgments and revelations. Adding to the momentum, NORAD publicly confirmed their radars had tracked UFOs for extended periods. Esteemed figures, the Walter Cronkite, like Walter Cronkite, also shared their personal UFO encounters, further shifting the narrative from skepticism to acceptance. Challenging established paradigms. The persistent question, however, remained. What exactly were UFOs? The prevailing theory of them being spacecraft from advanced extraterrestrial civilization was increasingly scrutinized. The UFO enigma compelled us to reevaluate and understand our reality, physics, and consciousness. Pioneers in the UFO research. Dedicated research like Keel, Constable, and Valet have long emphasized the profound connection between UFO phenomena and the broader human experience. Their relentless pursuit of truth, often amidst skepticism, has paved the way for deeper understanding. Beyond the extraterrestrial hypothesis, the traditional belief that UFOs are merely extraterrestrial spacecraft is too narrow to encompass a diverse range of reported experiences. A more nuanced understanding is essential to grasp reality's holographic nature. Emergent theories suggest that our reality might be holographic, characterized by layers of interconnectedness. The concept resonates with Jung's ideas of collected unconscious, hinting at potential collective consciousness that humanity might be evolving towards. Decoding the genetic language. Groundbreaking Soviet research on the 44 EEG code digits has opened the door to the possibility of direct brain-to-brain linkage with just 12 to 23 channels in this code. We might be on the brink of revolutionary breakthrough in human communication understanding. The promise of unified consciousness. Achieving this brain linkage could eradicate many of the challenges humanity faces. By eliminating the differences or the differentiation between individuals who could usher in an era of unparalleled harmony and mutual understanding. Immortality and the preservation of personality. This interconnectedness also brings the tantalizing possibility of personal immortality. Every memory, experience, and facet of one's personality could be preserved and recalled, ensuring that no essence is ever truly lost. The connection with UFOs. The UFO phenomenon might be indicative of interventions by advanced sixth-stage beings, what we were talking about earlier. Given the universe's vastness, it's conceivable that these entities are guiding humanity through its evolutionary trajectory. As we stand on the evolution crossroads, the choices we make will shape our destiny. While nature has the luxury of time, humanity's clock is ticking. The coming years will determine whether we ascend to a new evolutionary stage or fall victim to our own self-destructive tendencies. The ball's in our court, and the stakes have never been higher. Hell, that's tight as hell, man. Radical scholar, that's tight. So I've been talking about this for a minute, and sometimes it's uncomfortable hearing this, but like, so hybrids. We're on the cusp of evolution, right? Some of us are evolved a little more than others, and that's all these psi abilities are, right? It's not that all of us can't, it's that some are just there sooner. And the one human problem, again, article. I'm telling you, I think it all goes down to what's next. And we think what's next as in being something along the lines of, oh, we got to get out of this new planet or this or that. No, you can only use the human form for how long,
I sent you a
right?
bunch of info about that, but the reason you can't find it is because they changed their name.
Appreciate it, Angela. Thank you very much. I'll
Hey,
check it out.
Obed. What you and Astral and Obed was talking about, what the Galactic Federation and why they may or may not interfere. You guys are downloading some pretty good information there. Uh, just he just intuitively got some of that, which I found interesting. I mean, I've heard because I study a lot of these out of body channelers and psychics because their ability to perceive things. So I just crunched that data up wherever it was. I was gathering it for various years since 2016. And they've always talked about how humanity would eventually find out about a kind of mm, cosmic order that's quarantining Earth and watching from the sides, and there's like a chess match between the dark crazies and the slightly more benevolent, who are also crazy in their own way. I'll
Hey, you know
call
what,
it.
man? Let me stop you. I've heard that too, though. Like, we perceive the tall grays, like I said, treaties, one man surrender type thing. So yeah, I'm not saying they're all nice and shit like that, because one of the things I took away was the tall grays were bouncing planet to planet and just doing the hybridization thing everywhere, including on the Nordics.
Yeah, they get whatever they can to repopulate their species. And they could also be like biological robots that are used as meat suits because they can't physically get to this dimension. But they can put their consciousness into like a drone and a robot.
Go ahead, Bino.
How you going, guys? Great space as always. Love listening. What you're reading, just if you don't mind, I want to read a little thing here too. Can you just mention Walter Cronkite's name, and it just made me sort of remember this little story here. It's very short, so I'll keep it quick. Is that okay?
Absolutely, brother. Go ahead.
Okay. As CBS Evening News anchor for many years, Cronkite became a part of many American families as he brought us the news in a straightforward and fair manner. No matter how he felt personally, you never saw that during his broadcast. He did this all before cable TV became such a big part of viewing for so many, more than he was just a reporter. Walter Cronkite became a trusted friend of almost all who viewed his work. In the 50s, Cronkite was part of a pool of news reporters brought out to a small South Pacific island to watch the test of a new Air Force missile. After a short inspection of the system by the reporters, they were led to an area a safe distance from the launch site. The missile was mounted on a specially built launcher that was attached to a cement base. It was obvious that the area had been quickly built just for the test. The details about the missile were going to be given to the reporters uh, in the form of handout sheets and press releases after the test. As the test was ready to proceed, Cronkite mentioned that photography of the event by the press was forbidden. They would have to give verbal descriptions, so everyone was riding as fast as they could. As Air Force guards walked around the perimeter of the test area with guard dogs and the news reporters watched, the missile was fired up and about to be released. Just then, a large disc-type UFO appeared on the scene. Cronkite guessed that the object was 50 to 60 feet in diameter, a dull grey colour, and had no visible means of propulsion. Because the noise of the activity around him and the missile engine was so loud, he couldn't tell whether the disc made any noise. He did not notice any noise coming directly from the object. As Air Force guards ran towards the object with their dogs, the disc hovered about 30 feet off the ground. It suddenly sent out a blue beam of light, which struck the missile, a guard, and a dog all at the same time. The missile was frozen in midair about 70 feet from the launcher as it had taken off. A guard was frozen in mid-step, and a dog frozen in midair as it jumped at the disc. Cronkite reminded me that all this happened within the space of about 5 minutes or less. Suddenly, the missile exploded. After the disc vanished, the guard and the dog looked all right, but were quickly taken away by medical personnel, always present at the test in case anyone would be injured. At the same time, guards rapidly ushered the reporters into a concrete observation bunker. After about 30 minutes of sitting in the hot box, they were brought out into the air again and addressed by the Air Force colonel. The officer told them it was all part of the test. Obviously making it up as he went along, the colonel said that the event was staged to test media reaction to UFOs. He reinforced the usual line to the reporters that the flying saucers were probably not extraterrestrial, but people were actually seeing secret planes being tested by the Air Force. This test was designed to show the media how shocking it could be to suddenly view a new technology. Well, Cronkite was certain that what he viewed was a new technology, but he was also sure it was not an earthly one. He didn't believe the Air Force's explanation, and he didn't believe it as he told me the story. After the event, reporters were told that since it was a test of media reaction to the new technology, they could not report on it, but they would be compensated later with exclusive stories on new Air Force projects. Apparently a promise that was never kept. That's it. And that was from a guy called Jim Hickman. I just thought I'd throw that out there because you mentioned Cronkite and reminded me of that story. So
Thanks for being here, Benno, brother. And that was actually a on point story. Go ahead, Angela.
I absolutely loved what both of you guys said. I didn't want to take it off topic. I'm like 3 topics back. But I was just going to say that everybody has these abilities. It's not something that just special people have. I am a little biased to think that people that go through extensive trauma are maybe a little bit more amplified, but everybody can do these things. It's just about doing your research, learning different methods, and educating yourself, and don't overthink it.
Dude, I love that Cronkite story. My parents were actually friends and knew him, so I've met him a handful of times. Had huge respect. That's an awesome story. I remember that too.
That's nuts, dude. Synchronicities all across the board. You made a comment though. I want to piggyback on Benno. So that's not the first time I've heard people being frozen, things being frozen. But I've also come across witness interviews, things like that. There's one where a guy talks about his entire unit being portaled. So things like that.
I've heard that
Yeah,
story also. There's one guy, he saw his whole unit. They were almost, I think it was, and he felt like it was staged or it was planned, like that some hierarchy of the military or his seniors had something to do with it, because essentially when they got them out at a certain time, 3 a.m, I think, from their dormitories, which was unusual. He did explain how there were certain things that were kind of usual, but there's some anomalies about it. And because he was at the time, something happened to him though that he wasn't part of the main unit, but he witnessed it. I think it's the same story that you're referring to, and so the whole unit pretty much was
absolutely. That's what I'm saying. When I keep talking, I'm gonna keep talking about the MH370. It's not hard to get there, considering all the information we already have out. That's crazy as shit, right? So go ahead, haha.
Yeah, I'm a little behind, but Shane, you had said before personal experience about this black mass, and it just registered with me. You know, I've had lifelong experiences, all different kinds, but there was one in particular. I was about 16 years old, online playing poker or something, and there was a staircase in the front of it, basically where I was, and it had a piece of glass, like a stained glass thing. And coming down the staircase was kind of as you described. It's just this big black mass. It wasn't a shadow figure. It was just this big, almost like a big black blob. And it came down the stairs. And as it got to the bottom of the stairs, it went forward towards me, and it went basically like through me. And as it did, the chair I was in actually physically moved and like shook a bit. It was like a really, really dark presence. Like it felt almost like it wanted to hurt me or something, but it was really, it was like a one-off experience that I had had with something like that. Never seen anything before or since, but I just wanted to bring it up because I know that you had mentioned something similar there.
And thanks for sharing that, man. I appreciate it. Matter of fact, you putting a profile picture in your profile helps us bring you up. A lot of times when we don't see profile pictures, that's what was the hold up on you, brother. So we don't see we try to make, because sometimes people like to come in here and have a good old time. They don't like to share their experience. I'm thankful you did, because this is all we got. We come in here, we kind of bullshit, we tell our stories, or stories, the things that we've experienced, because you really can't go anywhere else to do these things, especially live with this amount of people. That's why I always love these spaces, talking to other people about this. I enjoy my podcast and stuff as well. So what we got on the timer? Why don't you talk about what's coming up next, Astral, with your remote
Yeah,
viewing?
well, I'm gonna jump out here in just a couple of minutes, but I'm gonna start up the space, the remote viewing space. We have a target tonight. I'll post it above right before I jump out of here, and we'll get the conversation. We'll keep it going, man. Just keep it going from this room. It's been great so far. Appreciate you having me. But I'm gonna host a space in about 25 minutes here, and everybody's welcome to jump in and keep the conversation going. We'll, stick it on remote viewing and UFOs, consciousness, all that type.
So check this out. I'm gonna tell you a little story real quick about my experience. So for me, I had already told you about, there was a time when, I took that shovel, I had a group of individuals step in. Some of the anonymous sources I use to this very day, and I still have no goddamn clue who they are, right? But my point being, those individuals stepped in. I didn't know at the time anyone, because everyone on here is somebody, right? You don't know shit like that. So what ends up happening is I start my first podcast. Podcast turns into writing for the Roswell Daily Record. But while I'm at the Record, we come across basically a source, a legacy source. But the only way you can know that and you can vet that is you have to have someone that's in the programs that can vet that, right? I didn't know I did. I just so happened to take this information, because I thought, I know this is real because I've heard all this, to one individual that I trusted, who's just an anonymous guy who's, saved me type shit. And lo and behold, and that's how all of it started, right? He was legit, this legacy guy. Okay. And it constantly felt from point to point like I was being dragged by something, because the synchronicities were, they don't even make sense. I remember telling Toby, like, man, I know this is going to be real, because it's kind of freaking me out a little bit. Because think about all the things that have to add up for us to be able to do this, have this, know this, to be able to vet this, and, that type of thing. And my experience has been like that. It's not even the nuts and bolts that make me wonder. It's how I interact with it in my everyday life that I have no clue what's going on, right? Is this just a normal thing? And most of the time, our third eye isn't open, so we don't see it, and we're not able to step left or right when it does something. And only when that third eye is open, you can start interacting or reacting to whatever it is. Because I don't remember anything like this prior to 2020, but now I live my life completely differently. Matter of fact, everything I do and the way I learn, and all that stuff's based on, after my experience and what I kind of fell into, right? Following my hunch, thinking things through. I can't explain any of it. I didn't even used to, who I am now. I used to play video games 24/7. I was literally from the point of, well, let's see, World of Warcraft. I started in the alpha and got in beta and on. I went all the way, man, until 2010. I just did nothing but games. No, nothing like that, movies and stuff. Now I can't do any of that shit. Every bit of my day feels like a waste if I'm not throwing something in my brain. And that's the most fun shit for me too. I feel like this stuff, and who says this? I literally feel like this is my niche. I'm good at this kind of stuff. But maybe there's something else that I can piece together like this shit. But this wild ass, goofy ass shit, I don't know if my experience today could be extreme neuroplasty and I just happened to fall into a really good game at the time. So my brain is wired to eat and put this shit together. And that could be possible because during 2020, the pandemic was happening. I was losing it. I already told you about that. All of a sudden, enter this, my experience, and me being a part of disclosure. Holy shit. I can promise you my brain exploded. I woke up every day wanting to learn more, find more, just interact, because My brain needed it. So it could be in multiple things, but all I know is I'm half human and probably am reptile. No, I'm probably all fucking reptile. What's up, Holly?
Hello, darling. I was just stopping by to say hello. I ain't spoke to you in so long.
It's been a minute, hadn't
It's
it?
been a minute, buddy. Yeah, I'm so
Yeah.
happy to see
We're
you.
gonna blame Astral, not my shitty life.
No, no one's going to be blaming Astral on my watch. It's good to see you, though, bud.
Glad to see you too, Holly. Thanks for being here.
Always, man.
Before Halloween, maybe after Halloween, I don't know. But things are about to rock and roll, bro. I'm telling you.
That's all right. Tell you what, we have the brave men and women of the armed forces to save and protect our asses, and they always do. So I'm not even going to look at the politics. I don't give a shit because I know without a doubt, even without me looking at the TV, they will do that. Same with the UK. I mean, literally, that's what they do. So I was one of them. I could worry about it, but I'm not. I know we got people that were just like me. They're willing to throw their buttholes on the line for it. So I don't think it's going to go there. I wouldn't sweat it, but the more we get worked up about it, the more it will, right? And it's not a side taking thing. What it is this. I've seen war, and what war is, it's the worst of humanity, period. Both sides. Doesn't matter which side's the defender, the aggressor or not, because you have to do things to come out of that. So it sucks dick, and I can tell you this, that there's no graduating from the one human fucking problem like this. This is part of the one human problem. We're literally violent monkeys. All we want to do is take and kill. And imagine this. There's no goddamn way that every sentient species that pops up in this universe, right, goes through this progress of tech and the way they evolve. I imagine some skip the violence because they realize without it, there's more. You can do more. Imagine if we skipped the violence and worked together as a collective Earth. I know we are the world, right? Imagine where we'd be as far as tech and progression, right? But we're not. Because every time we do that, it's like 10 steps back. That's all it is. And that is also, in my opinion, one of the reasons they come. They're very intrigued on human emotions, trauma, things like that. They don't quite understand these things that we do to ourselves that are because these things affect consciousness. Maybe these things affect how some can and can't communicate, right? Because a lot of people who have
Yeah.
trauma end up having this shit.
Well, they might have a UFO invasion or a fake alien invasion just to get it over with and get it done. You know.
That's a good point. Let me bring this up. I made a point the other day because if I'm talking about MH370 being real, being black rock, being black water for the semiconductors and all that, right? Imagine this. What would it take for said aero defense companies to convince the world we need more money to defend against aliens that aren't really aliens, but the craft that they have, right? When I would say it wouldn't even be our government, it would more than likely be Northrop. These people popping their shit out continuously. What's it do? Scares people. Our government gets up all in arms, right? And they were throwing contracts. I wouldn't think the fake alien invasion is going to come from our government. I would think that shit's going to come from NGOs because money defeats all.
Well, that global warming they did a lot. That was a psyop, y'all. I mean, they're not going to get $12 trillion. Okay, I mean 4 trillion, 4 trillion, 4 trillion. That happened last year. That money is for defense. So don't let everybody fool y'all about this global warming shit. The global warming is war, World War III. That's what it really means. Just like that. Let's go, Brandon. You know how they did a code name thing, or the Hollywood thing
Hey,
did the
open eye,
pizza
bro. You
thing.
know I love you, but I'm starting to sense you're trying to go into every hot button political topic you can go into in this short amount of time, brother. Are we gonna talk about UFOs? Screw the politics and war, brother. Let's talk about war with the fucking moon.
Well, that's a whole nother story there, but I
You know,
think
dude,
how
I tell
I
you what,
told
Open
Pete.
Eye's a good dude, man. I almost got
Yeah.
stuck in Vernal, Utah in a shit show when we were filming down there, and Open Eye was trying to help my ass out. So he's legit.
Well, I'm about to go to Mount Whitney, man, and I'm going beyond the veil. I mean, that's what I'm calling the project, the mountain beyond the veil, or the veil beyond the mountain. And I'm gonna go in there and do it myself because I can't get no help. I'm trying to call. I called Mr. Bigelow. Got to wait for him to call me back, but I can't wait around. I'm not gonna stop my life. Even this war bullshit that's happening. I'm gonna keep on having fun doing my research, and that's what makes me happy. Out there in the field, exploring, discovering things. So I'm gonna let y'all know. I might even go live, on Periscope or something like that, when I'm out there.
Well, do that,
But I
man. Make
just
sure you let us know once you at me if you do, so I can retweet it.
look. I just posted that dinosaur dog that was turned into stone on
All right,
on your
in the thread. I'll,
yeah.
I'll put it up in the nest, man. Or you can put it up in the nest as well, too, man. So, guys, do me
Well,
a favor.
yeah.
All right, guys, here's what we're gonna do. We got probably a couple more, 5, 10 more minutes before we move over. Astral will be coming up. So retweet the space. Go ahead and throw stuff in here if you want. I'm glad you guys came tonight, man. It's a good time. We like to talk about the subject. I like to talk about the bullshit I'm going through because others do as well. I remember I started doing these rooms because there was really no experience for places. And so we just share stories, things like that. But I also learned a lot and became a researcher and all that cool shit. I know that, what was I gonna just say? Man, I can't remember what it was, but it's to Benmo. Thanks for being here, dude. Is what that Cronkite article was on point. Just another. Oh, this is what I was going to say. Thanks for me saying that to you. So check this out. I also ran across papers. I'm still have to go where I find them. So back in the day, I think 60s, 70s, 80s. Oh yeah, dude. Journalists. There used to be plants, CIA plants that were journalists in this subject all over the place. There's documents about it. Different news organizations. So you think that's not happening today? I can promise it is, maybe in a different format. Take Green Street, Mick West, all these other individuals. If you're paid per click, you don't need incentive. All you need is information. So then it's a matter of getting said information. So they'll make their money however because they're the anti to this, right? So they draw there. Just remember that, guys. Matter of fact, I can't talk about it, but I'm doing a pretty cool investigation and we'll move on. And I'll say that people that do that, there's a reason. Shit. Susan Go, for a fact, because this was another thing I wrote about earlier. She was using her social media to decimate information while at the same time being the mouthpiece of the government, right? So 1, 2, it's bullshit, and it's like that across the board. Scott Stapp is connected to Fitzpatrick with Arrow, right? Gives him a glowing review, but he's at Northrop, and his job is literally reversing. Like, okay, that makes sense. So, yeah, guys, welcome to the shit show.
And the
That's what we're here
CIA's
for.
been involved too, over the years, and they even admitted, like, if you look at like newspaper articles back in like 97, 98, Washington Post, you'll read there that like the CIA openly admitted they did an investigation into it. I forget the name of the guy who did the investigation. He was a professor, and out of it they published an article in the New York Times, Washington Post. Essentially, the CIA admitted that they'd lied about the UFO issue during the Cold War era, to basically hide the spy planes. So they've done it in the past. So if they were hiding it, if they were using that as a cover for technology back then it would make sense that if it worked then they'd do it again now.
I agree. All right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you joining me. Pop over to Astral Space. If it's not up now, it'll be over in a few minutes. It'll be up in a few minutes. I'll be over there with them. A lot of us, we do this in and out, man. Good times. So thank you guys for joining me. Always donate to Wounded Warrior. You can always tip me if you want. Help me repurchase my freaking. I can't believe my shit's breaking. But anyway, I'm not gonna complain. I'm alive. So love you guys. Bye.